Another edition of CMU Sideliners. I'm Don Scheidel. Great to have you along tonight. If you happen to be in Central Michigan, stop by O'Kelly's and check out the program live. We'd love to see you tonight. We're going to chat with Keno Davis here in just a little bit, talk a little Central Michigan men's basketball. Chippewas losing on the road last night at Bowling Green, now getting ready for an Eastern Michigan team. That'll be a challenge Saturday night at that game, and that's part of a doubleheader, if you will. The women are going to play at noon, a big showdown game against fellow undefeated Mac School Bowling Green. They'll get started at noon. Sue Guevara is here, and we'll chat a little bit about that and find out what the Chippewas have in store for Bowling Green. They got a nice win last night at home against Northern Illinois. Then we'll turn our focus over to gymnastics and wrestling. Talk about gymnastics. William and Mary, part of the Royal Rumble and Tumble on Friday night. Third time for that event, and Tom Borrelli will be here to chat a little bit about the CMU wrestling program. They will see Ohio on Friday night and then Missouri on Sunday at 2 o'clock, and then we'll close out the program. Mark Guthrie is here. He's the head of the track and field and cross-country teams here at Central Michigan. We'll find out about their big event this weekend as well. So we're coming right back. Keep it right here. We'll talk a little Central Michigan men's basketball on the other side right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Sideliners program. Fabiano Brothers, proud distributors of Bud and Bud Light, our sponsors again tonight. And Chippewa fans, once again, Meyer of Mount Pleasant invites local kids to register for a chance to be the Meyer Ball Kid of the game during the 2013-14 men's basketball season. Visit Meyer on Pickard in Mount Pleasant to get the official entry form. Big game coming up this weekend. Eastern Michigan's coming to town on Saturday night beginning at 7 o'clock. Coach Keno Davis is here. How nice is it going to be to have the students back and fill up those end sections at McGurk? It'll be good to see him again.
Yeah, you know, you got to remember the whole month of December. We didn't have any home games, you know, so we come back and have a couple games without our students there, and so looking forward to it.
Let's talk a little bit about the game last night on the road at Bowling Green. You lose by 10 in that contest, and Bowling Green, very physical down low, especially just two players that were really dominant down low last night against you. Black, the big center, and also Holmes, who's very athletic down there. And we've talked about it many times. When you run into a team like that that has some big guys down low, it's going to create a little bit of a problem for you. And you're doing a good job in the first half of hanging in that game, and then the shooting woes started a little bit in the second half, and it seems like you could just never recover.
Yeah, it was a little surprising that it wasn't the shooting woes from the perimeter. It was shooting woes on the inside. And we shot an awful lot of two-point shots where we didn't get fouled. In fact, we shoot 3 for 17 from 2 in the second half. That's surprising to me that we shot that many shots because we don't have the true post-up game that we would like right now. So we're more of a penetrate, draw fouls, kick for outside shots. And when you're not getting those fouls inside, you got to make sure that you work more on your moves and be a little stronger and then kick to another player so that to be able to go 3 for 17 from 2 and got beat in transition, got beat in a lot of different ways, and yet that game was still there for the taking. It was still a single-digit game, ended up 10, but we knew we were never too far away. We just weren't able to turn that corner.
7 blocks for Bowling Green in that game. They're a very good defensive team. That's what they do. And they did a nice job in limiting some looks for you last night down the stretch a little bit. I thought one thing, and maybe for the first time this season, we saw a team that was really focused on keeping Chris Fowler out of the paint. I mean, it seems like they're really trying to help out and keep him out of there where he's been so successful. But then you look up at the box score at the end of the game, and he's got 19 points. It's amazing.
Yeah, 19 points and, 5 assists that's kind of an off night for Chris.
Right.
Which is, and then what tells the story of Chris Fowler? Well, it's the post game. It's we're driving back, and he comes up to the front of the bus, and, Coach, what do I need? What do I need to do better? And it's not just, player speak of saying what I want to hear. He really wants to know how to become a great player and how to improve. And, that's a characteristic after a tough loss that you don't usually find in players that are really able to, point the finger at themselves and say, how can I help the team? How can we turn this thing quicker? And he's a special player, a special person as well.
He's proven to be one of the better players in the MAC so far this season. Coming into the game last night, he's second in scoring. When you talk to him about his evolution as a player at Central Michigan, what are some of the things you're hoping to see in the future? I mean, he's already playing at a very high level.
Yeah, I think the thing we look from Chris is we talk about don't get away from what got you here. In that, how did he become this player? It's because of his drive, his work ethic, and the ability to be the first one in the gym. I'm not talking about being the first one in the gym 30 minutes before you practice. I'm talking about you go down to McGurk or Parfit and at 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning in the summer, he's there. You go in there 11 o'clock at night, he's there. He's getting shots up. He's working on his game, and that's how in 1 year he's transformed himself into a guy that was a setup guy that could be a great passer and one of the best, breaks the assist record. And now he's both. Now he's a scorer and an assist guy. What's he going to be next? Great defender, great shooter. Nothing's going to surprise me with Chris, but that's what you will end up with. Recruits and other players in our program will point to Chris Fowler and say, this is how you develop as a player, this is how you work towards your goals, and this is how you achieve them.
In watching you and trying to juggle his minutes, it's so tough because I know constantly, and now you try and sneak him breaks whenever you can with timeouts and some other things that are going on. And sometimes I just look up at him, and he works so hard, you just wonder how he keeps going.
Yeah, well, one thing that we went to at Bowling Green that I think will continue to work is, you have timeouts every 4 minutes. Mm-hmm. So you have some time to rest. I've been more of a proponent when you're going to give them substitution of somebody that doesn't need a whole lot of rest. Give them 30 seconds more often than to sub him another 3 or 4 minutes at a time.
Right.
So give him a 30-second break here. Give him another 30-second. Give him. Versus if you keep him in for longer stretches, he might need more time to recover. So you're going to see Chris Fowler start to do that. You're going to see Blake Hibbets, John Simons. Those guys right now, as our other players, are truly younger players. Our first-year guys get more experience. Those other guys are going to have to, hold the load, and play a lot of the game, especially in those games where we're not able to force a tempo and get into the full-court game that we like.
Does it help, Chris, from a stamina standpoint when you have other guys that are handling the ball a little bit more, where you can move to that off guard a little bit when you bring a Braylon Rayson in or a Rayshawn Simmons and they can handle the point?
It would. I think when you see Chris Fowler, divert attention from himself and allow other guys to handle the ball coming up, that's how you know he's tired.
Okay.
Because that's not coming from the coaching staff. That's when we see that. Now we need to give him a little break and get him out of the game. And it's better for him to rest sitting on the bench than rest by letting other guys attack. He's that good with the ball, Chris is. He makes the right play, the right pass. I don't think I've ever really been upset with him this year because I know when he makes a mistake, he's telling me before I get, open my mouth to tell him, oh, Coach, I got it. Okay, great. And that's why he's been able to learn and improve.
I thought we really saw him blossom at the end of last year offensively. It seemed like he was taking more of a role in the offense for you. But the transition from the end of last season to this year when you're second in the MAC in scoring, did you see that coming this quickly with him, or is that just a testament to what he did in the offseason?
Well, both. First of all, he couldn't do it without the work that he had put in. But we knew what kind of worker he was going to be. We also knew with the loss of Kyle Randall how important that was going to be to our team, and it wasn't like we were just going to be able to pick up and continue on, that was going to take some time to fill in. But that, in our style, there's some numbers to be put up, and those guys that are able to shoot a high percentage, get to the free throw line, we're going to put the ball in their hands. And Chris Fowler has been that guy. Now we need other guys offensively to be able to step up and give us some other scoring options, not just shooting options.
Chris's game revolves around him getting to the basket and also getting some calls. We've talked about officiating. Are we starting to the point now where officials understand Chris's game a little bit, and maybe as the season goes along where he's not getting some of these calls early on, you're hoping that he might later on? Or how does that work?
I love how you segue into officiating. You're just trying to get me in trouble. No, they're not going to get used to him because we'll see a brand-new officiating crew almost every night. We'll see. I mean, it's rare. There is an exception, of a guy that we might see a couple times. But for the most part, you're a brand-new crew.
Right.
Now, as he becomes a junior and a senior, and these officials have been through the league, they'll understand him a little better. But he's pretty good at being able to adapt. The one thing that he hasn't gotten yet is he hasn't gotten the advantage of when you're a top player in this league, you get the call, the close call. You're going to get more of them. It's just kind of the way it is in every league.
Right.
He hasn't gotten those yet. But hey, you're second in the conference in scoring. You got the ball. Only help him, and as our team around him, develops, that's going to help him as well, obviously.
Final question about Chris, and he takes a lot of punishment because he spends a lot of time in the lane with the big guys and ends up on his backside a little bit. But it seems like his frame is able to handle that. He's able to weather that storm. Have you gotten through some games where you thought to yourself, boy, he's pretty beaten up. I hope he can be ready to go by the next game?
No, because I know that, well, I shouldn't say no. When we had 3 games in 3 days for our tournament, I really worried about that. But for the most part, when you get through with a game and you got a day or two to recover, we make sure that we don't tax him too much in practice. What I do worry about, we saw it at Toledo, I had to use all my timeouts late in the game just to give him rest. not X and O stuff, just,
right.
Hey, we need him on the court. And he looks tired. Let's take our 30 here. Let's take our full here. Let's take our, and then we didn't have any left. But more timeouts left don't help you if you're down 10, 12 points. And we'd cut that thing down to 4 or 6 points with a few minutes left. We're getting better. I think, for our fans, it's a struggle when you lose some games in a row. But those fans that have been able to see us play, they know we're a better team. They know we're a better team than we were last month. We're only improving, and sometimes those don't always show up on the scoreboard. But you understand when you see the team, you see the moving forward. It's an exciting time.
All right, Coach is going to stick around. We're going to come back, turn the focus on the other Chippewas, and a little bit on Eastern Michigan as we will see the Eagles Saturday night at 7 o'clock at McGurk. And we want you to come out and support the team along with all the students being back here in Mount Pleasant. Back with more on CMU Sideliners right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network.
Hi, this is Paul.
Sideliners program presented by Fabiano Brothers, Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Good to have you along. Coach Keno Davis is here. We've been chatting a little bit in the break about the challenges of being a student athlete and how tough it is when you're on the road, as much as the Chippewas are on the road. And I don't think people realize how limited the time is for these guys in everything they do because they're pulled in so many different directions. And when they're able to perform academically as well as your guys have, it really is a testament to them and their discipline both on and off the court.
Well, I think, you look at some of our conference schedule this year, and we have the 5 Wednesday road games. Well, that's not very good when you have Wednesday class. But I think, as a testament to our players, like you said, that they've done exceptionally well. In fact, I've never been a part of a program that, has the news that we'll be officially announcing soon, that we've got 3 nominations. 3 players have been nominated from our team as academic All-Americans in Blake Hibbets, John Simons, and Chris Fowler. And we're now going to have 3 academic All-Americans. But to even be nominated for an academic All-American, that shows that not only are our guys trying to play at the highest level, in collegiate athletics, but also that they're really exceptional people and students as well.
And the amazing thing is you could make the argument, and you won't do this, but I can make it, that they might be your 3 best players as well. How much does it help your overall program when your 3 of your better players are 3 of your best student athletes?
Yeah, it helps to get nominated to be a good player, too. They don't usually nominate the guy at the end of the bench.
Right.
We might have a couple guys at the end of the bench that have some good academics, too. But I think it does. It shows that when you're able to be focused in what you do, and that doesn't mean you have to get the 4.0 GPA, but that means you have to maximize what you're doing. You're working as whatever you're doing, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. And our guys, Blake Hibbets comes out and gets a 4-point GPA this first semester, with not only playing basketball, but working as a pitcher in baseball. And I mean, that's a pretty good story. And, Chris Fowler's got a lot of publicity about, his background and his family. With his brother being an outstanding wide receiver at Michigan State. And, we've got some great stories from our guys. Now let's have a great story for our team and see how quickly we can get there.
Another great story for you is Braylon Rayson, young man who has been coming off the bench, averaging about 10 points per game. Got his first start last night, and well-deserved. And I know you're of the mindset that with the starting lineup, and it's been the same for you throughout the season, that when you have guys that are performing at a high level, it's almost kind of a reward for them to get the start, isn't it?
Well, it is. Tough situation for a coach to be in when you have a player that's producing off the bench. Do you make that change for fear that all of a sudden he won't produce?
Right.
Or, that you'd kind of change when things are working well. But we felt that he deserved not only that, but we kind of liked the idea of having his explosiveness offensively in that starting lineup. And we're not worried as much in our bench play because we're not going to be one of those traditional teams that when you all of a sudden you sub and you're going to have 3-4 bench guys in there. We're going to continue to rotate guys through, and Chris Fowler and Hibbets and Simons are going to be in there the majority of the game anyway. It's about trying to find the right chemistry at the right time. And at the beginning of the game, you're trying to get off to the best start. And we'll see how that works out.
Let's talk about Eastern Michigan a little bit. They will be your opponent on Saturday night. The Eagles so far this season have been pretty impressive in Mid-American Conference play. They got a nice win against Western Michigan. This is an Eastern Michigan team that folks are getting familiar with now. They run that defensively. They run that Syracuse zone. Rob Murphy was a former assistant at Syracuse. You've seen it now. How do you attack that thing? Because you don't see that version of it too much, do you?
Yeah, it's tough to get ready for their personnel because they got transfers from all over the place. I mean, every program in the country, they're going to come in. They're going to look like an NBA team, with their size and their length. But having gone against Eastern last year a couple times, having gone against Syracuse more times than I'd like to remember, you've got to be able to control the ball and not let their length bother you as much out in the zone defense. And then when you go in strong, you've got to be able to get them off their feet and not try to shoot flip shots or fading jump shots inside. They're going to block those shots, much like we saw at Bowling Green. So you got to be able to go up strong, make strong moves, and if you can't make a strong move inside, well then kick for your teammate and try to get assists on that. Then defensively, we've got to make sure we force them out on the perimeter. We just cannot allow teams to beat us inside. we got to guard from the inside out.
You kind of led me into my next question. I was going to ask you about playing BG right before Eastern Michigan because they do have that length. They did play some zone last night that gave you a little bit of trouble. Does that help in
You know, Eastern Michigan has an advantage day to prepare, you know, against the things that we do. But our guys are pretty focused and understand what they have to do. We had a good practice today. We'll need a good practice tomorrow to work on our execution of our zone offense and also some things that we're going to have to do in the half court defensively. But we know that every time we go through, whether it's against Bowling Green and seeing their trapping zone, whether it's against Montana State and seeing some junk type of defenses, every time we get a chance to gain that experience, we're going to be better off the next time that we see it. We've got to make sure that we keep our focus and keep working hard and understand that there are good things ahead.
Are we starting to get to the point in the conference season, and we're just a few games into it, that maybe we don't get as many surprises from other teams? You've run into this a couple times this season. You've talked about it. You'll scout a team, and you guys do a great job, and you look at all their games, and then you see them, and they do something they haven't done all year. It's crazy.
Well, I think, you know, the exciting thing for me about that is we're tough to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Bowling Green's one of the top defensive teams in the league. We shot 60% on them in the first half. They had to change everything they did. Now, we didn't respond well when they changed. But teams have to change what they do for us. We've gone
except when they play you.
And then all of a sudden they get in and they go, we can't guard them. They got shooters at all these positions, and they run, and they do this, and they do that, and they have to change what they do. Now, when you get to the conference, they've got a little bit of better idea. They've seen you know, from previous years. But as we continue to improve as a team, as we continue to add pieces, we're going to try to keep doing what we do offensively and then try to improve the defense, improve the rebounding, improve a little bit offensively in the post game. And when we get there, hey, we're going to be one of the top teams in this league. And it's going to be nice not only to be one of the top teams, but to have come where we came from. That we'll understand that it was through hard work and the way that we did it was the right way as well.
Your club is going to play a lot of close games this season, and MAC play probably another one tomorrow night. You've done a really good job in the off-season and the beginning of the year, the school year, to help get the students involved and get them out. Now we need to get the community out there, and you've talked about this before. It can be a difference in a game. If you've got a raucous atmosphere and a good crowd, it can make a 3-5 point swing, can it, very easily?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at I'll give an example of Toledo versus Bowling Green, and where Bowling Green's program is and where Toledo's program is, and yet the proximity, the location isn't that much different. A lot of it is because when Toledo struggled as a team, they got great fan support. People came out in droves and continue to push them, and that helps in recruiting. It helps win those close games. It helps with officials, as we've talked about before.
Absolutely.
And so what we have to do here is we have to get our fans out here, not only our students, which we're working really hard, but we've got to get the community, get the surrounding community to come before we win, to help us win, because we've got a good product, because we've got kids that are worth, you know, supporting and getting behind. And then now when we win, now we're poised to not only have incredible crowds, but keep them coming. Keep them coming every night, keep them coming each year, where now it's even in a year where you might rebuild a little bit. You're going to be a tough team to beat at home for sure.
Well, good luck with Eastern Michigan tomorrow. We'll chat before the game on the radio, and go get the Eagles, okay? Got to turn this thing around, and I know your guys are ready to do it.
I appreciate it, Don.
Head coach of the Chippewas, Keno Davis. Come back, talk a little Central Michigan women's basketball next on the CMU Sideliners program right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Sideliners program right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Michigan dairy farmers are proud to provide post-workout chocolate milk for CMU student-athletes. Nutrient-rich chocolate milk helps athletes refuel and rehydrate after intense exercise. And with Pages directory, you can find everything you're looking for locally. It's everything you want all in one place, the YP app. Sue Guevara is here. Good to see you.
Hey, you too. I could have used some of that chocolate milk yesterday.
Need to rehydrate after the big game?
Oh, after the first 4 minutes.
Or after one of your workouts? You get after it pretty good. I've seen you in action. And is it important for you to stay fit, to keep up with those young ladies?
You know, Don, it's important for me to be stress-free when I go into practice or when I go into a game. But, you know, I really do enjoy working out, and I think that, you know, when you're having your players run, the coach to be able to do the same thing.
Well, let's talk about your Mid-American Conference run here now as you stay undefeated. You got a nice win last night at home against Northern Illinois, and that thing was kind of I was watching as I was calling the men's game. I had you
You're
up on
multitasking?
Yeah, imagine that. I had you up on my computer screen. I kept peeking at the score there, and it seemed like it was kind of nip and tuck the whole way.
So what did you think when the score was 20-9 and we didn't have 20?
I was worried about your stress level.
You know, I'll tell you, Don, when it was just I thought that when we started the game, you know, watching the film and obviously watching the game, we had great looks that did not go. We had layups that did not go. We had, you know, for Nikki DeGiulio to go 1 for 9 and have really from the three-point line. And thank goodness that, you know, I think we had like 38 or 40 points in the paint. So, you know, and you know what, and I give kudos to Northern Illinois. I think, you know, with their pack line defense, they really do a nice job of literally packing it in. And, you know, I just thought that it was one of those games where we just had to grind it out. And I thought in the second half, defensively, we did a really nice job holding them to like 33%.
And that's the thing, and I know you talk to your young ladies about it all the time, about how important defense is, because you're going to have those nights, even as well as you shoot it,
right,
where it's just not falling for you.
Right, and you know what? So, you know, there's a point where we have to go, you know, when we're in practice, we have a series of drills, and we go stop, score, stop. And that's pretty much what we had to do because we were having trouble scoring from the three-point line. And, you know, when DeGiulio, again, poor Nick, she goes 1 for 9, Kirby Tam goes 0 for 2, and Taylor Johnson goes 0 for 5. You know, I mean, I can't do the math that fast, but that might be 1 for 16 from 3 of our top 6 scores. And, you know, but again, you know, we got really good minutes from Deja Turner. We got really good minutes from Jewel Cotton. And then Bracy had a really good second half. CB, I mean, she ends up with a double-double. CB had a double-double at halftime, but really continued to get people involved in the second half, and Jess Green was able to penetrate and finish.
Well, maybe you got that out of your system before the big game coming up here on Saturday, right?
Well, Don, every game we play is a big game. No one is bigger than the other one. So, but, yeah, I mean, you know, Bowling Green comes in. They're 4-0. We're 4-0. It's a TV game. Mm-hmm. It's at noon. I've been really happy with our attendance that we've had. I mean, 1,700 against Toledo, 1,200 on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. You know, last night against Northern Illinois, we had students that were there yesterday. So, you know, I'm really hoping on Saturday that we can get maybe 2,500 and get some students in there that are going to really help us against Bowling Green.
When you look at the MAC over the last few years and you look at the premier programs, Toledo's been up there, but really it's been you and BG, and you kind of met each other a few times and split a little bit. Talk about that. Is that establishing a rivalry between the two schools?
Well, you know, someone asked me about that, and I would tell you right now that probably Toledo has been more of a rival for us. Bowling Green, you know, we played them twice last year. They embarrassed us at their place, and we embarrassed them in the tournament. And so, you know, there's a good head-to-head going on there. You know, the other team I would tell you is probably a Ball State, who beat us twice last year. So, but we're not looking ahead. We're just looking to Bowling Green on Saturday.
It's how that Ball State thing doesn't bother you at all.
Not one bit. Not one bit. Actually, I was watching the Ball State Bowling Green game last night after our game because it was televised. So I went home and, you know, had an adult beverage while I was watching Bowling Green and Ball State, and I'm thinking, these are two really good basketball teams right here that we're going to face.
All right, tell me a little bit about BG. Do they look similar to what they have in years past?
You know, Don, Alexis Rogers is a nice player for them down low. She'll also shoot the three for them. Jill Hatfield is their point guard, who's really good coming off an on-ball screen, off the bounce. They have a transfer from North Carolina State. I heard Keno talking about transfers. But she transferred from North Carolina State, kind of a 5'10" guard. But they're running the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think for us, what helped us last year in the tournament was the amount of pressure that we were able to put on them. We caused 34 turnovers against Bowling Green, and that's what we have to do. We have to ratchet up the pressure.
Coach, going to stick around. We'll talk a little bit more about the BG game Saturday at noon and a little bit more about the program. So keep it right here on CMU Sideliners, presented on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network.
We've got you covered with a subscription to the Morning Sun, Mid-Michigan's only local news source. You'll stay informed on the latest happenings in
January 13th. CMU Sideliners program. The Members First Credit Union Scholar Athlete of the Week will be announced each Monday during the 2013-14 academic year. The students are just coming back, so we'll have one for you coming up on Monday. Visit cmuchippewas.com to see the next winner. Members First Credit Union making a positive difference. Now with 2 locations in Mount Pleasant. Coach G is here. We're talking about I'm not going to call it a big game, the game against Bowling Green coming up at noon on Saturday. But when you have 2 undefeated teams in the conference and the pick in the West, the pick in the East, it means a little bit more. It's televised and it amps it up a little bit.
Actually, Don, I think the pick in the East was Akron.
Really? Over BG?
Over BG. And right now, Akron is on a 3-game losing streak in the MAC. And right now, I will tell you, Bowling Green is 3rd in the country in the mid-major poll.
Mm-hmm.
So, I will tell you this. Today in practice, our kids were pretty in tune.
Pretty focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have to do much to get them in line.
No, not
Bowling
much.
Green's 2 losses.
Marist and Purdue.
And Purdue, one of the better teams of the Big Ten, right?
Well, they're struggling
Are
a
they
little bit
now?
right now. Yeah, they're killing our RPI points. It's like, come on, let's go. But yeah, Marist on the road and Purdue on the road.
So is that a little different philosophy in scheduling, where your schedule has been absolutely brutal, as there's more mid-level non-conference?
They have played. They beat Ohio State at Ohio State. Beat Michigan at Michigan. I can't say those are both powerhouses in the Big Ten, but as of last week, we had the #1 non-conference toughest schedule in the country. So But I think they've done a pretty good job of getting ready for the MAC too. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
you're right.
Well, I know you expect a nice atmosphere on Saturday, and it's funny when
Great atmosphere.
when
Our
you-
crowd's been great when they've been there.
when you talk about these programs that really have it going on the women's side. You look at a Toledo and a Bowling Green that have those great home court advantages, and you're building that as well. And I think you're there now. How much of a difference does that make?
You know what, Don? It makes a difference to the kids. I mean, I'll tell you that right now because, our players, when, we've just come off the road, we played 2 games, both were on TV, and neither was very well attended. And our kids see that, it's like, well, boy, we had a lot of people at our Toledo game. Yeah, we did. And it just, the energy that our kids feed off of our crowd is huge. And you can ask anybody. I mean, you always want to have that 6th player. And I think we are really getting there as far as all of our fans in the McGurk. I will tell you about Toledo and Bowling Green, though. They travel well.
Mm-hmm.
They have buses that bring fans over. And, I was just talking to Mike Dabbs about that today, because I know Toledo pays for it. I don't know if Bowling Green's fan club pays for it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think that's certainly a question for, the powers to be here at Central to, and I think our fans would pay.
Oh, I think so too.
I think they would pay to go. I think we have a lot of season ticket holders that would pay to take the bus to Toledo or take the bus to Bowling Green or take the bus to Western Michigan or Eastern Michigan.
Well, I think you saw that last year when you saw the following. You got it down at the MAC tournament
Absolutely.
and also on the road for the NCAA tournament
Right.
game.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I paid for the bus. I split that cost with Student Life. To go down to Columbus. So, I think there's the interest there. We just have to get that out and get people here in the McGurk and then get people on the road with us.
What's the X factor for this team going forward that's going to take you to that championship level where you want to be? Is there one thing you're looking at, one variable, maybe one player that you think could really step forward, or one thing you're counting on going down the road here in the conference schedule?
Don, I think that, I think I just started to start Crystal Bradford.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked for consistency in practice and at games, and I'm getting it out of Bradford. I look at, Bracy and Green have been pretty consistent, and so has DeJulio. And I think between a Kirby Tam, a Taylor Johnson, a Jewel Cotton, and a Desiree Turner, I think those 4 kids have to be consistent for us. So, excuse me, I can go deeper in my rotation, and they all bring something really different for us. When I have a Cotton and a Turner in there, we can press and we can trap all over the place. Tam offers us another 3-point shooter.
Right.
And Johnson, if there is an X factor, it's Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Because she can go inside, she can go outside. She has a goal of 1 charge a game. She can rebound. It's just making sure that she can stay. She's 5 points from 1,000. And if I can get that kid 5 points like that, I'll get it.
Oh, she'll
then
get it.
Then it's off her shoulders. She
Right.
doesn't have to worry about it anymore, and she can just flat out play.
And I like, and I've talked to many people about this, and they just love the intensity she brings onto the floor.
She does.
Seems like raises your club to a new level sometimes.
Well, you know what? She's the heart and she's the soul. There's no doubt about it.
Going forward, as we look at this team and you're trying to put things together for Bowling Green and get back into the MAC schedule, the heart of it, how tough is it for you as a coach when you've got I'm not going to call it a big game again, but a good game coming up?
Yeah, and you know what, Don? And I think that's where our non-conference schedule helped us.
Yeah.
Because we had, if you want to call them big games,
Right.
with Duke and Kentucky and Notre Dame and Purdue. We've had those. But I think our players, I know for Bowling Green, one of our goals is we want to be undefeated at home. So I don't have to say anything else, and you should have heard him on a bench yesterday when we were behind, and then when we got ahead, and then being able to maintain the lead and stuff. It's like our players know. I know, and it's like I always talk about. We're always going to get everybody's best shot.
Yep.
This is the first time we've had the target on our back. So we have to practice like we're in 2nd or 3rd place, like we're fighting to get to 1st place. We have to practice that way so that it doesn't matter who we play. We're going to give our A game too.
Well, let's hope you have your A game tomorrow. Best of luck against Bowling Green. It's going to be a great game
It's
and a great atmosphere.
It's going to be a great game, and you know what? And for everybody out there, God, we could sure use you in the seats, and we would love to hear you, and I'd love to see you.
I'm sure you're going to have a great turnout. Thank you. Best of luck.
All right. Thanks, Don.
Coach G, we're going to come back, talk a little Central Michigan wrestling. On the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network.
Finding the right, highly trained, trustworthy professional.
Now to the basketball games. Chippewa campus providing round-trip rides from the Towers parking lots and North Campus in front of Robinson Hall on men's basketball game days. For only $1, Chippewa Camp providing simplified, convenient transportation for our fans. Back on CMU Sideliners, I'm Don Scheido. Tom Borrelli is here. We're going to talk a little Central Michigan wrestling. You have one of those unique events coming up this weekend, and the Royal Rumble and Tumble. Tell me about this thing. It's actually have gymnastics and wrestling going on at exactly the same time. How's this work out with your guys?
Well, hopefully our guys don't get distracted, you know. But I hope it distracts the visiting team, you know. But it's a pretty neat event. The gymnastics team and the wrestling match, the wrestling team, gymnastics teams are competing at the same time. So there's never a dull moment in the arena. You know, you've got the gymnasts on the beam or the bars, and you have a wrestling match going on. You know, for our guys, it's probably real good for them because it's kind of like, you know, when you're at the NCAA tournament or the MAC tournament, when you have 3 mats or 4 mats or 5 mats going at a time, you have to be able to concentrate on what's going on, even though there's a lot of noise and a lot of distractions in the arena.
You're going to see an Ohio team that is pretty darn good this year. The Bobcats, normally we talk about Kent down in Ohio as being the best team when it comes to wrestling. Tell me about the Bobcats and the challenge they present Friday night.
They have a very good team. They're ranked 25th in the country. They just moved into the rankings for the first time this past week, and they're really strong in the upper weights. From 174, even 165 on up, their guys are having real good years. Their 165-pounder, Harrison Hightower, has been in the rankings. Their 174-pounder is ranked 7th in the country. His name is Cody Walters. Their 184-pounder, that's probably their weaker guy of their upper weights. But then their 197-pounder is ranked in the top 10, and their heavyweights ranked in the top 10 nationally. So our guys, especially in the upper weights.
This is a little bit of a different year for you, I would think, when you look at your group and you've got some younger guys and you're trying to put things together at this point of the season, and you're facing some really good schools. You see Ohio on Friday. You're going to have Missouri Sunday at 2 o'clock. Where's your club at right now?
We're getting better. We had a very competitive match last weekend with Northern Iowa up in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and they're ranked 10th in the country. And I think that the final score was 25-14. We won 4 matches in the dual meet, and they won 6. But all the matches were real competitive for the most part. We actually had 2 major decisions in the upper weight. So I think we're getting better, and it was a good time for us to compete against a real quality opponent like that. That was our first MAC loss of the year. And, so I think our guys are realizing they're a little bit better than what people thought they were going to be.
What's your goal for this team as you evolve through the end of the season and trying to see where they can go and what they can become?
Our goal is always to qualify individuals to the national tournament, have individuals become All-Americans, hopefully national champions. It's a little bit different year for us in that we've always had a real strong dual meet team.
Mm-hmm.
This year we're not as strong dual meet-wise, but I think we have some individuals that can win conference championships, qualify for nationals, and do well at the national tournament, and then score a lot of points for us at the national tournament so that we can finish in the top 15, And that's kind of my goal with this group is last year we had 2 All-Americans and we finished 18th in the country. I'd like to do better than that. And if we can do better with that, both of those All-Americans were seniors. So if we can do better with that with a whole new group almost, that would be pretty special.
How long does it take you when you have young guys coming into the program to kind of teach them the CMU way of doing things?
It takes a while.
Yeah.
It takes a while. For one reason or another, we don't get very many freshmen that can step into the lineup and be ready to wrestle on a Division I level, be very, very comfortable and capable on a Division I level. It takes a little while for our guys. They have to. It's a pretty big change to go from being even a high school multiple-time state champion to a quality Division I college wrestler.
Well, best of luck the rest of the way. I know we're going to have you back as we go through the season. And again, Ohio Friday night at 7 o'clock, then Missouri Sunday at 2 o'clock. A couple home events for you. You want to see some folks come out and enjoy it, because if you've never been out to check out the wrestling team, it really is something to see. The intensity is really just ratcheted up to another level, isn't it?
Yes, it's for the fans that don't know a whole lot about wrestling. It's a pretty special sport. I think our gym, McGurk Arena, is a very good venue to watch wrestling. You're real close to the mat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost like you're wrestling with the guys.
Well, luckily I'm not, because they'd be in trouble. All right, Tom, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Good luck Friday and again on Sunday. All right, going to come back, close out the program, talk a little Central Michigan track and field on the other side right here on the CMU Sideliners on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network.
Chrysler.
For CMU Sideliners for this Thursday, a busy weekend around Central Michigan when it comes to athletics. Visit themorningsun.com for the latest sports and news updates. The Morning Sun in print every day, online, all the time. We mentioned the basketball games. We got the Royal Rumble and Tumble with wrestling and gymnastics, and then more wrestling Sunday, and also track and field. Folks aren't thinking about track and field. He's the director of track and field and cross country at Central Michigan, and you were just joking a little bit from your previous stops about cold weather. Just kind of found.
You'd think I'd be working my way south instead of north and parallel.
I'll join the club. Let's talk about your event that's coming up this weekend. And this your guys that have been training out on their own to get some competition, huh?
Right, yeah, this is our first meet. We're bringing in 5 other teams, local teams, and Oakland, Alma, Saginaw Valley, Cornerstone, and Northwood. And so it's a chance for us to see, as we say in football and basketball, see different colored jerseys.
Sure.
Get out. Some of our kids will be their main event, other kids will be in off events, but just chance to get running. And then the next week, we're sending our distance kids to Indiana. So this is kind of a warm-up for them. And then for the rest of the team, then the first meet we're really going to get after it is a Compass Cup down at Eastern Michigan, which will be in 2 weeks.
So you've got an indoor season that will transition to an outdoor season?
Right. Indoor season runs all the way through the second weekend in March. And then we have a couple off weeks for shorts. So you don't have to keep going over detail after detail after detail because they pick it up the first time. And then I think it's a beautiful area. I mean, right now maybe not so much, but I mean, having been here now for 3 or 4 months and have a chance to drive around and out
Sure.
into the country, I mean, I love this area. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
But maybe a little more beautiful when it starts to warm up a little bit, huh?
Yeah, it's always a bonus.
All right, stay warm. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you so much for stopping by. That's Mark Guthrie. Don't forget CMU women's basketball Saturday. For you beginning at 6:45 on the network as the Central Michigan men host
15.
Eastern Michigan with the tip 7 o'clock at home. So a doubleheader of basketball Saturday at McGurk. That's going to do it for the CMU Sideliners right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Have a great night, everybody.